All right, well, good morning. So let's start lying on the block with the shoulders on the block. And you can have the legs out straight or soles of the feet together in Baddha Konasana. Whichever one you like. Ah, Getting the block, whatever height is going to work for you at this moment. Remembering that bigger sensation sometimes means bigger strain and more resistance to the stretch. So it's not always a better stretch, a better opening to be doing more. I'm talking to myself too here. All right, easing yourself over the block. Ah. And as you get a little more settled in, bringing more and more of your attention to your breath, letting the inhale expand and soften a little more. Exhale, melt, let go, and soften a little. And then let's give the arms a stretch out to the side, breathing them up overhead for a moment. And then we will interlock the fingers and take the hands behind the head. Give the elbows a little pull wide. We're going to take a gentle roll up. So thinking not of pulling up with your arms, not pulling up with the neck and head, but as if you're drawing down the base of the breastbone and the lower ribs. So a big inhale and exhale, pulling down right from just above the belly button. Don't strain and yank your neck as you come up. Just press down here, kind of like in that little triangular area between the lower ribs there. And then easing your way out. Feel like you lengthen out from the center of the torso and then out through the top of the head, out the elbows. And let's do that 5 or 6 more times. Inhale and exhale, coming up. So it's not necessarily a big abdominal workout. We're just making that upper back move a little. And inhale and exhale, breathing up. Inhale and exhale, lengthening out. So it might be a little more effort or a little more stretch for each of us, depending, but it's not, like I was saying, it's not something where we're going for a big action, a big sensation. It's more subtle. I'm doing this 2 or 3 more times. And then we will finish up with this, letting yourself melt off the block once again. And then sliding the hands out from under the head, stretching them up overhead with the fingers interlocked. If this is all right for your shoulders and neck, if not, just bring the arms alongside on the floor. And then releasing the arms, and as gently as you can, making your way up to sitting. And if you have two blocks, having them both up there at the front of the mat. If you just have one, having the one block there near the front of the mat. Let's see. And I might as well plan ahead and have it on the left side of your mat. All right. Meanwhile, here we are in Sukhasana. Giving a little lengthen up, feeling space coming between the vertebrae, a little more space in the hip sockets. And slowly releasing with the arms, letting the hands rest on the knees. Big inhale and exhale, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders, long through the top of the head. Softening and closing your eyes. Really going inside yourself, feeling the breath, feeling the effects of that little rolling up and down on the block. And then we will reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing the arms up. Inhale and exhale, breathing them down. Lengthening all the way up from the base of the spine. Lengthening all the way up the sides of the body, even as we're also grounding down through the sides. Always doing two things at once, at least. And then once more. And we'll change the cross of the legs. And we'll interlock our fingers again, hands over the head, give the elbows a pull. Pressing up, rounding down those two directions at the same time. Being long and flat. And then slowly releasing the hands, holding an invisible block there overhead. And bringing the arms down. A couple circles with the shoulders. And we will change the cross of the legs once again. And we're going to ripple. So similar to what we did on last week, or on Saturday anyway, if you were here. So we're going to lift the upper chest up. There we are over our block again and coming forward and contract. We're going to start all the way in the lower belly. And there we come over, moving through the upper back and up. All right, 3 ripples. Breathing inhale and exhale over. and rippling up, and then twice more. Or if you feel you need more than twice more, you can always stick in an extra one. And then as we finish that last one, we'll slide the legs out to straighten Dandasana, pouring over the legs in Dandasana. And coming up, changing across the legs, 3 ripples, and 3, and 2, and 1. And sliding the legs out to straight, coming forward. Big round breaths in the back of the body. And coming up, changing across the legs. I'm just going to turn a little sideways and see if we can reverse the direction of the ripples. Rounding back first, so rolling way back off the sitting bones. Guiding the head forward. Coming up, leading with those collarbones up and over. So let's do that 3 times. Rounding back, diving forward and up. 1, and 2, and 3. And then as we finish here, we'll slide the legs out to Konasana, angle the straddle, and coming forward, their hands behind or on the legs or in front. Inhaling and exhaling. And coming up, changing the cross of the legs, reversing that ripple. If you're not sure about reversing it, just ripple. And 3, and 2, and 1. And then sliding out to Konasana, coming forward and over. And coming up. And then we will come up and downward facing dog. Adho Mukha. Oh, I just blanked out how to say it. You know, downward facing dog. It'll come back. And walking the dog or anything else you want to do. And then finishing with that, and here we are in the best downward facing dog of this moment, nothing moving but the breath. And then let's lengthen out to the Plank stretching long and flat against the ceiling. In contrast to all that rippling, but keep the breath rippling through your body. And then we'll pull back into child's pose. And into the Sphinx, sliding out. Pulling back with the sides of the body, forward with the center. Flattening out the front of the pelvis in front of the hips there into the floor. Wide across the collarbone. And if you feel you can lift the elbows a little, letting that happen. Working those upper back muscles a little bit from the front and the core. Calming down. Taking a deep breath. And then let's come up onto all fours. And getting settled there, maybe a cat and cow to get going. And then we're going to Asta Namaste, knees, chest, chin into the floor. All right, so a big cow back, a little softening the elbows, pull the shoulders forward and then down, hips go up and back a little more, sliding out to the small cobra. And lengthening down, pulling the elbows back. Let's come up and down 3 times in the small cobra. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale, lengthening down. And then twice more. And back up to downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up, reaching down through the left heel. Bending the right leg dog at the high fire hydrants. And through to the lunge. And then we'll ease that left knee down, coming up in Vinyasa, the kneeling lunge. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And then the circle around and all the way back up overhead. And Namaste in front. And then reaching inside, turning to the elephant rider. So we're going to be continuing around in a moment to face the back of the mat. We're just doing that same Anjayasana kneeling lunge with the circle of the arms. Meanwhile, here we are getting a nice lateral stretch, pressing the knees back. And then we'll turn to the left lunge at the back of the mat, bringing that right knee down, coming up in Anjayasana on the left. And breathing the arms all the way around and back up overhead. And namaste in front. And turning once again to the elephant rider. And then we'll put the hands up on the thighs by the knees with the fingertips down and the elbows out like the giant bug. And we'll twist. A little dip of the left shoulder, twisting right and twist and twist. And you can put a little bounce in here if you want. And we'll do this 2 or 3 more sets, depending on how quickly you're going, possibly even 4 if you're going really fast. And then we will finish with that, turning back to our right lunge at the front of the mat. And we'll come up in the warrior number 1, or it could be the high lunge with the back heel lifted if you would rather. And then really checking in with your breath again, feeling that big circle of breath. And reaching down, we'll bring the arms inside the right leg again. Walk the right foot over to the right edge of the mat with the hands inside, turning the left heel up if it's still down. Bring the lizard lunge. Pausing here a moment with the straight left leg lizard lunge. And then bringing that left knee down, sinking a little more into the right hip joint. Maybe there's more down onto the elbows or maybe onto the blocks. Next option is a little circling around, pulling back, around to the left and forward again. Doing that 2 or 3 more times. And maybe trying the other direction, forward and around to the left. And then we'll take a few more breaths here in the lizard. And coming up, and let's hinge back, straightening out that right leg. So your leg will be a little bit out to the diagonal side, not a lot, but a little bit. Oh, and then maybe using the blocks under your hands again, maybe just under the left hand. And then we will retrieve our right leg, sitting in simplified Virasana at the back of the mat. And we'll breathe both arms up overhead and interlock the fingers. Give the elbows a pull, pressing up, rounding down. Lifting up a little more, we're going to twist to the right. Twist with the hands still interlocked. And then releasing the arms, bringing them down. Left hand to the right knee. Right hand might or might not reach the floor. You can also do a half binding if that's convenient as we twist to the right. And coming back to the center, breathing those arms up, interlock the fingers, pressing up, grounding down. And we'll twist left. And then floating the arms down, right hand down the knee, left wherever it works for you. With my super long arms, it goes easily to the floor. And back to the center. And let's expand ourselves up into downward facing dog. Big yawn in the back of the knees. And then through the vinyasa, any version you want. Oh. And then around we will go on the left, lifting the left leg up. Bending the knee dog at the high fire pose. And through to the lunge. And Jayasana on the left. Breathing the arms around in a big circle and back up overhead. And Namaste in front. And reaching inside, turning to the elephant rider. And then we'll turn to the back of the mat for right lunge. Bring that left knee down and Jayasana. And breathing the arms all the way around and back up overhead. And Namaste. And reaching inside, turning to the elephant rider again. And then we'll put the hands up on the knees with the elbows sticking out, and we'll do the twist. So, like I was saying, you can do a little bounce as you twist side to side. You can also do a little shift in the legs if you want to see how that feels. So you don't have to do it different. You can do it smaller, just in the shoulders. And we'll do this 2 or 3 more times. And finishing with that. And we will turn to our left lunge at the front of our mat again, coming up in the warrior one, or maybe the high lunge. . And we arrive here. We find the breath. And then we let that breath deepen and refine the pose. Every breath saying, I am. And bringing those arms down. Once again, inside the legs, we walk our left leg out to the edge of the mat, turning up your right heel, taking a few breaths in the straight leg lizard lunge. And then bringing that right knee down, sinking down a little more into the left hip. Maybe coming down lower on the elbows. You can also put an arm on the block here if you want. And then maybe doing a little circling, squinging in the hips. Reaching to the back and around to the right. Not doing this circling if it doesn't feel like it's a useful thing to do. Maybe it's grinding too much on the right knee, that happens as well. Try the other direction if you're circling. And we will finish with our lizarding. And then doing the hinge back like we do from Vinyasa sometimes. Our left leg is a little bit of a diagonal side. It changes the stretch in the hamstring a little or a lot. And breathing. And retrieving that left leg, sitting in simplified Virasana at the back of the breathing. And then we're going to sit off onto our left hip and slide that right leg out to straight. So we are in a half dragonfly with the left leg bent and the right leg straight. And let's come forward between the two legs. And up, let's twist to the left. Inhale and exhale toward the front leg, toward the bent leg, the front of the mat leg. And then right hand onto the right leg. Heart rate Jani Shirsasana, still twisting as we reach out and up and over into the side bend over the right. And coming up long through the top of the head. Let's retrieve our right leg. Back to simplified Virasana. And then we'll sit off onto the right hip. Extend the left leg out into the half dragon fly with our right leg bent, left leg straight. The important thing, of course, is that it's the other side coming forward. And coming up. And then we will twist to the right, the bent leg, the front of the mat leg. And left hand onto the left leg, reaching out and reaching up and over. Parivajani Shirsasana. And coming up. Pause a moment, really lengthening up to the top of the head, reaching leg to leg. And then we will retrieve our left leg. And back to simplified Virasana. And we'll take a couple more breaths here. Anyone wants to see if they can get into the full Virasana, moving the feet a little bit to the side. Let's see, you can use the hands for support if you want. Seeing how far those sitting bones might sink down between the legs. Remember, it's not worth endangering your knee joints to try to go further. But like many things in yoga, for some of you, this might not actually be all that especially challenging to sit. All right, one or two more breaths. And then expand the back up to downward facing dog. Big yawn in the back of the knees. Maybe a little dog walking again if you want. And then through the Vinyasa, any version. And we'll meet back in downward facing dog. And let's lift the right leg. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrants. And through to the lunge. And then the warrior number 2. Virabhadrasana number 2. The lateral lunge. All right, so arrive there. Check the alignment. Find that breath. Arrive a little more deeply. And really breathing. Inhaling and exhaling. Dancing warrior, bringing the right arm up and away. And into the triangle Trikonasana. We pulling up through that left side. And we're going from here into the side angle. So pulling up with the left side as we bend the right knee, pulling that right sitting bone down, reaching wider. Maybe the right elbow comes up onto the knee if you want. Feeling a big up and down pull along with the side to side pull. So we're kind of making a big X. And maybe taking it all into the long sides by reaching the left arm over the ear. And a big reach around with that left arm. And we'll come down inside and turn into the wide leg forward bend. Vajrayana Padottanasana. And then we'll turn back to our right lunge. Stepping back to the plank through the Vinyasa and downward facing dog. And taking 3 deep breaths there, downward facing dog, or maybe in child's pose. All right, and let's do that on the left, lifting the left leg. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrants. Through to the lunge. And coming up in the warrior number 2 on the left. Arriving here with a little more conscious attention and bigger adjustments. And then once you have the breath, we start to get more subtle and refined. And then dancing warrior, bringing the left arm up and away. And then into the triangle, Trikonasana, tilting over. Lots of space. Feeling that right side going up. And then really reaching up through the right side as we bend the left knee, pulling down into the side angle pose. Still reaching up, almost like you're not even bending the knee and going lower, as if you're just stretching your body wider from the floor to the ceiling. And then we have a big up and down reach, a big front and back reach, like a big X. And then maybe bringing the right arm over the ear, feeling the long side reach a little more. It doesn't mean the up and downness is gone though. It's just not as obvious. And the big reach around with the right arm turning to the wide leg forward bend. And then walking the hands back to our left lunge as we go through the Vinyasa, any version, and we'll meet up in downward facing dog for a few breaths, and then to child's. All right, here we are, downward facing dog, and breathing. 3, 2, 1. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then unfurling the spine into our simplified Virasana again. Deep breath. And descending up onto the knees. And we'll Ustrasana, the camel pose. So we're going to do it twice. So don't overstrain the first time, feeling into where things are, probably hands on the sacrum. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And then coming back up long through the top of the head. Couple deep breaths, maybe stretching the arms up overhead if you find that useful. I always feel that's a nice way to kind of lengthen out my lower back and get very spacious in case anything got crushed. And then once more into Ustrasana, the camel pose. Maybe it goes deeper. Maybe deeper just means a little bit more easeful, a little less strain. And coming up. And we will descend back to simplified Virasana. And inhaling and exhaling. And then let's slide out onto our stomach into the Sphinx for a moment. And coming down. We'll interlock the fingers behind. At last, we didn't even do this yet today. Squeezing the upper arms together, pressing back through the backs of the hands. Lengthen to lift in Salabhasana, the locust pose. And slowly release the hands, palms face the ceiling. And coming down. Deep breath, and then we'll do that once more. All right, lengthening out. Remember, you don't have to lift high. Maybe things don't even want to lift this second time as we lengthen to lift. Slowly release the hands, palms face the ceiling. Coming down. And then we'll peel ourselves up off the floor. And we will come up once again in downward facing dog. But a very indulgent downward facing dog, whatever that means for you. Maybe with the extra wide feet. Really doing your downward facing dog as a back bending counter pose. Another option would be to sit on the floor with the legs straight out in front in Dandasana instead. And here we are. Somewhere breathing into the back of the body, opening that up. And wherever we are, we're going to come down and then make our way all the way down to the floor. Lying down on our back. And so today, let's happy baby though. As usual, if there's something else you feel you'd rather do than happy baby, go ahead. So bringing the legs up. And the knees are kind of over the over the outer shoulders rather than straight along the sides of the spine, nice and wide. Double pigeon in the air. And you can do whatever little squinching you want here, maybe going side to side. Playing around a little more rolling up with the pelvis, a little more flattening down, reaching through the sitting bones. Let's see, it's also an option to try straightening out one leg, either to the side or up to the ceiling. Or anything else you can think of, or maybe just being here in the happy baby, breathing. And then we'll pull those legs down, sliding them out. And into Shavasana. Inhaling and exhaling, letting go of all efforts. Really feeling your breath. See if you can keep your mind from starting to creep or maybe zip out to the rest of the day. Letting yourself be here, even if you have to leave before the end of Shavasana. Just take one or two or maybe three breaths, really being present in your body. And breathing back into your body, moving the fingers and toes, maybe circling the wrists and ankles. Stretching the arms up overhead. Bending the knees, making your way gently up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with a long and spacious spine. Taking another moment or two, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.